Hi everybody, good afternoon. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and this is Lollipop. Say hey, chick chick. There's Dottie. And Calypso's running around down here also. And I wanted to show you something that I've just gotten my chickens so you can see the texture, you can understand the purpose. If you are new to getting backyard chickens and you're wondering, okay, what do I need to buy, what do I not need? Now this is called Poultry Grit. And I have 3 girls. If you're new to Real Simple Mama and our little flock here, I'm only allowed to have the 3 birds. So this is just our 3 girls, and we are in a neighborhood with an optional HOA. So we do have neighbors. Everything that I've got is legal, so there's no need to call the law enforcement on me or anything. But since my girls free range for between 9 and 12 hours a day, and they're able to find little pebbles and little rocks, and I give them their eggshells back and all of this other stuff that they can go and find out on their own, I have never thought that it was worth it to actually purchase what you see over here, which is a bag that's called Poultry Grit. Now this brand is Purina, but of course there are other brands, and Poultry Grit is usually either crushed oyster shells or this is crushed granite, and that's literally the only thing in it. So you can see it's just, I mean, that's literally what you're buying, is a bag of crushed up granite. Now, if you're not familiar with why your chickens may need grit, it's because of their digestion. They do not have a digestive system like mammals do, like humans do, for example. Basically in a chicken, and I'll show you here actually on this bird, the chicken will eat something, it goes down their throat, and then there's a little sac that's here right inside their breastbone called the crop, C-R-O-P, just like a crop, you know, you have a crop of corn, something you harvest. And it's basically like a little pouch. And when your chicken has just eaten a whole lot, you can actually feel it. It'll be a little bit firm, just like a balloon that's gotten full. And then you'll be able to feel their breastbone right here when their crop is essentially empty. And that's sort of like a holding place where food just waits until it goes further down into the stomach and gets digested. Now, obviously chickens can't chew anything, so they peck to the best of their ability, and then they don't really have stomach acid like we do either. So the crop sort of acts as a disposal in that it helps to break down the food preliminarily before it goes into the stomach. So this grit, these pieces here, let me see if I can get Dottie to eat some right out of my hand. There you go, girl. She's like, what the hell is that? What a ripoff. The girls got all excited when I came out here because they thought they were going to get treats, and they're like, lady, you brought us rocks, like literally rocks. So I guess they're going to shun me for right now. Whatever, that's fine. So this grit essentially helps break down if your chickens are eating something, whether it's a seed or something that's a little bit harder, if it's a longer piece of grass or hay, it helps break down that food. Now, chickens can get different conditions, like an impacted crop or a sour crop. And you can Google all of that stuff if you want to. It's fascinating, and it can get kind of gross, but I think it's really cool. But that's basically where the crop gets jammed up with stuff that's either too long, you know, the really long pieces of hay or long pieces of grass. We keep our yard mowed, and our girls do not get any hay because I'm terrified of them eating stuff that's too long and them choking on it, basically. So giving them grit or letting them free range where they can go and find little, I mean, just tiny little pebbles, things like that on their own, and all of those kinds of things that you provide for them and that they find on their own will help eliminate those potential conditions that can be fatal. There have been instances, and I'm sure you can Google image and find it if you wanted to, where people have had to operate on the crop, and essentially they just have to find exactly where it is and make a little incision and then use like a little surgical hook, and you're literally pulling out gigantic clumps of stuff. It's the equivalent, it looks like a cat's hairball. Like, it's just a big wad of stuff that basically couldn't make it from the crop into the stomach, and it's crazy. So they need to have enough stuff available to them one way or another so that that doesn't happen. Now, the reason I decided to buy grit, I've never bought grit for my girls, they're about nine months old, is because for my latest video, which was the Roost Dilemma Part 3, I showed you guys at night what my girls were doing in the coop. And they started picking at the PDZ a little bit. Now, PDZ is basically like litter. It kind of works like cat litter, but it's used more. You can usually find it like in the equine section of Tractor Supply. It's used for stalls and inside barns and things like that. And it's a fine gray dust, and it is organic, and essentially it is just an ammonia absorbing, moisture clumping type litter. That's what it's used for. So it's underneath the girls' roost. I'll show you over here. And they were pecking at it the other night. So I looked up, of course, like, oh my God, you know, they're not really supposed to be eating that. So of course I'm doing Google searches for, is it safe for my chickens to eat a little bit of PDZ? Here's a PDZ right here. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and be unsanitary here just for you guys. This is PDZ. So it has no smell. It's very, very fine. Yes, Miss Nosy. But the other night I opened this up and I had the light on. It was dark outside, and I noticed that my girls were kind of pecking at it. And so I thought, oh crap. So going and looking and researching through reputable chicken sites that I trust, they said, hey, you know what? It may be because they're not finding enough grit out in their environment. And so I thought, okay, fine. So that bag that I bought of this Poultry Grit, again, this one's Purina, but I mean, I would think any reputable brand name, you can't really go wrong with crushing up rocks. It'll run you easily less than $10. I think this one was $6 or $8, and I'm here in South Texas, just at our local feed store. So I'm going to leave this available. Now you can mix it in with their food. I personally am not going to, but you want to just leave it out 24/7 available. So you know, your chickens will know when they feel like, okay, I need something more here. What was that, girls? What was it, girls? I had to chase off our red-shouldered hawk the other day. He was sitting right on that tree right there watching the chickens. So now they're all on high alert, I guess. So this little dish, which hopefully they won't knock over, but you know how that goes. I'm just going to leave it so that it's available for them, and I will just fill it up as needed. I personally, like I said, am not going to mix it in with their food. I do want it to be separate, and just let your chickens trust their bodies, and you just leave it out for them, and then as needed they can go and grab some. So I just wanted to show you a visual, you know, put my hands in it and let you see the consistency. What is this? Why do I need it? The bag of Purina that I've got here does say that it should be offered to birds that are 10 weeks and older. So if you've just got little chicks, I believe that Chick Starter usually has some type of grit built in to the mixture there of any kind of chick feed that you're getting. But once you're off of the grower and you're onto the layer, because these are laying birds now, they're old enough to start laying, and you switch over, you're probably going to want to offer them something. And I always assumed, I mean, you can see we've got gravel here, you know, and they're always picking up all kinds of stuff. I've never had any danger with my girls, like looking like they're sick or showing any other signs of sour crop or impacted crop. So I always thought that we were good to go, and it was just sort of like a marketing ploy of, hey, you need this, when I really didn't. Scratch is kind of the same concept. I don't have any scratch to show you because I do feel it's pointless. And it's basically, it's sort of like a chicken trail mix, but scratch is, it has a lot of stuff in it that your chickens don't really need. It's not a high protein thing like giving them mealworms or soldier fly larvae. It's more like cracked corn, which they shouldn't have too often, and some other crap that they really don't need. So I always thought that the grit was kind of the same as scratch, in that, hey, if I'm letting my birds free range, they have plenty of room. They have their food and water on demand, as well as everything else they can find out here. And you guys have seen my videos on all of the different chicken snacks. They get hot oatmeal, they get crushed garlic, they get yogurt. I mean, look at these birds. They are obviously just so deprived. So I always thought, with our situation, with them being able to free range, I'm sure they're finding enough out here in their environment that they don't need grit. But now that I've seen them messing with the PDZ, I decided, okay, fine. You know, I would never want anything to happen to my girls because I was trying to save $8 on a bag of rocks, which is basically what this is, right? I mean, it's like $6 or $8 for some crushed up granite, but that's okay. So, I mean, and you know, if you've got chickens, I mean, this is what they do all day. Eat, 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 dig around, look ridiculous, eat, bother me because they're pissed off they didn't get more treats. So I will leave you with this, that once your chicks are 10 weeks old, they're getting close to laying, probably about the time that you switch them over to the food, hey canary, to the food that is higher in protein, or excuse me, it's less in protein and it's higher in calcium once they get older. You know, because once your chickens are about 10 weeks old, they're not really growing anymore, so they don't need as much protein. You need to be upping their calcium so that the calcium is not taken out of their bones, or, you know, they're laying eggs that are, the shells are way too soft and easily cracked. So I'm going to put this down for them. I'm going to put the bag down here in my Rubbermaid storage unit so it doesn't get messed up. One more quick note, whether it's grit, or it's their treats, or it's mealworms, or it's their food, always check and make sure that you are keeping everything dry. The very, very bottom of our big bag of layer crumble, which was also Purina, actually, I went to go fill up their auto feeder right here, and this lasts them like a week because I've only got 3 chickens. But the very bottom of that bag somehow got mold in it, and it was in this unit that, I mean, it doesn't get wet even if it's windy and raining. Like, there's no way for it to get wet, but somehow the bottom of that bag of layer crumble got wet and the food was molded, and that is very, very, very dangerous. Giving your birds anything that's got any kind of mold, fungus, algae on it can, I mean, it can kill them. Chickens are very, very sensitive to anything that could potentially be respiratory, and so you don't want to be dealing with any of that. So make sure there's the bag. The bag is empty now. I threw the food away where the girls couldn't get it. It's in the trash can. Not in this one. It is in the big trash can. But you want to make sure that you keep everything very, very dry. We had kind of a wet week here in South Texas, and so I had to make sure that their little cup right there where their food comes out didn't get wet by wind blowing rain in there and making it get wet. So just be very, very careful with that. That can get real dangerous real fast for your girls. Hey, Lolly. And of course, we are enjoying the mid-60s weather here. It's the very end of January here in South Texas, and now it's supposed to get back down into the 40s tonight because Texas. So, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight on what's going on with this whole, do I need to buy chicken grit? What exactly is it? Is this a waste of money? What are my birds going to do with little pieces of rocks? And now you know. Right, Daddy Bird? But I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. I hope that's been helpful. If you've got questions, comments, suggestions, put them in the comments here on YouTube. I always respond within 24 hours. I appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing, idolizing me on the internet. All of that is good. But from my girls to you, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll be back soon with more content.